What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique. I am a Fight Guy Forbes contributor, and I am coming to you with a UFC Fight Night Smith versus Teixeira preview, odds and predictions piece for Andrei Arlovski against Philipe. This is a heavyweight encounter, and it will open up the main card for Wednesday's action. Just a few days removed from UFC 249 and just a few days before the next fight card, which is also going to take place from the ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. Let's talk about Arlovski against Philipe. Arlovski has now been positioned pretty much as the gatekeeper in the heavyweight division. So if you are a heavyweight who is considered somebody who may have some level of a future, could be a potential contender in the down the road, you're going to get a fight with Andrei Arlovski, and this is Philipe Lenz's opportunity. In case you are purely a UFC fan and don't pay attention to the full scope of mixed martial arts, you may not know who Philipe Lenz is, but he won the Professional Fighters League (PFL) title last year. So he is, I'm sorry, in 2018. So he is really a up-and-coming guy in the heavyweight division. The Brazilian is 34 years old, which is still pretty young for the heavyweight division. He hasn't fought, actually, since he won the PFL title. That was in December of 2018. So he's been on the shelf for more than a month, more than a year, coming up on 18 months. So that will be interesting to see if there's any octagon rust or cage rust. And you also have to factor in that this fight is going to be taking place during this pandemic where everybody's training camp has been a little bit disrupted. Apart from all of that, if we're looking at where Andrei Arlovski is, and if you look at these odds on the screen, Philipe Lenz is the -155 favorite according to Bet Online, and Andrei Arlovski is a +135 underdog. If you look at these odds, the biggest reason I think for that disparity and for the odds makers leaning towards Lenz is about age, wear and tear. Arlovski is 28 and 19 in his career according to Sherdog, 28 and 18 according to UFC, and he's taken some bumps, to say the least. Last fight, he was knocked out in the first round in 29 seconds by Jairzinho Rosenstrike, but before that, he was able to pull out a unanimous decision over the guy who actually is fighting in the co-main event for the same card, and that's Ben Rothwell. Before that, he lost a split decision to Augusto Sakai, and it was a no contest against Walt Harris, and he had two losses before that, back-to-back against Tai Tuivasa and Shamil Abdurakhimov. So if you just look at the last 6 fights, Arlovski's only got 1 victory in the last 6 fights. So he's not in a good spot in his career. Now, he's been to a place like this before. I mean, from January of 2016 to June of 2017, he was on a 5-fight losing streak. So he's been there before. He was able to get out of that situation with 2 victories. The question is, can he do it again? Can he pull his career back together? Because at this point, he's looked like he's trending in a place where he could be coming up on his last fights with the UFC. And I know he's like an OG with the UFC and's been, left the promotion, started there, left the promotion, been back and all of this. And he's a fan favorite, so to speak. But I don't know how many more of these losses he's going to be able to absorb without maybe being in a position to get released. But you do have to realize the gatekeeper spot is important with a promotion. Those guys, that measuring stick guy who's always ready to answer that call and take a fight is important to a promotion. So that is something to remember. Philipe Lenz has a odd build. He's only listed as 6'1", even though it looks a little taller than that. But his arms are very, very long. While he's not this quick, snappy striker, he has heavy hands and a long jab that allow him to be really effective from distance, more so than you would think for a heavyweight who doesn't have a ton of height. As a grappler, he's pretty strong. 4 of his 14 victories have come by submission, but he does seem to like to stand and bang a little bit more than some of the other Brazilian heavyweights that you may have seen who like to get to the ground so they can utilize their Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I do like Philipe Lenz to win this fight. I just think that Arlovski is a step too slow at this point. He's eating way more shots than you would like to see him eat, not moving the head nearly as much. He appears to be a bit chinny at this point, and it could be because he has been stopped multiple times in his career. He has suffered 11 losses by KO or TKO in his career, so that is significant, including the crushing KO loss to Rosenstrike in his last fight. So at this point, I don't know what percentage of the old Andrei Arlovski that we're still going to see. And I just think Lenz, just being a younger guy, longer reach, just a bigger guy overall, I think he controls this fight. Now, I don't want to dismiss Arlovski's craftiness as a striker, because I've seen him overcome some situations with just using some angles. I thought one of the best performances he's put together in the last, I don't know, 5 years was against Junior Albini. Albini had a little bit of hype behind him back in November of 2017, and he got really shut down by Arlovski. And Albini proved to be a bit of a bust with the UFC, but I thought that Arlovski proved he could still strike, move, and be a little, and show some octagon IQ in that fight. But you know, that was a while ago at this point. He's lost 4 times since then. So I don't know if that's still even something that's in his bag. So I'm going to have to go with Philipe Lenz to win this fight. And I think Arlovski will get through it. I think he'll get through it. I don't know if Philipe Lenz stops him early, even though it's not impossible. I like Philipe Lenz to win a decision with some top position, some ground and pound, and just overall controlling this fight. Now, I don't know. Maybe it's difficult to imagine Arlovski losing by decision because he usually pushes the pace. But I think Lenz gets this one via decision, and Arlovski gets through the fight but probably gets beat up. So that's my prediction for this one. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comment section. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and also click the notifications bell. And don't forget to check out the other odds and prediction videos from this card. As always, appreciate you watching. God bless and peace.